Hashiba Yomi walks through a crowded street, wishing he could read the minds of the people around him. He has one person in particular whose thoughts he desperately wants to know. He constantly wonders what she is thinking, wishing he could understand her feelings. The scene is set in the school's calligraphy club. A hand gracefully drags a calligraphy brush across a sheet of paper. While the girl focuses on her work, Yomi can't help but steal a nervous glance at her. She is Hanai Mizuki, the talented vice president of the calligraphy club. Her work is celebrated for its fresh and beautiful style. However, Yomi feels there is a problem in their relationship. He remembers being overjoyed when she agreed to be his girlfriend just a month prior. Yomi reflects that even after a month, there is still a problem. He tries to break the ice, complimenting her on her handwriting. An awkward silence hangs between them after his attempt at conversation. Mizuki simply bows her head and offers a quiet word of thanks. Her cold reaction leaves Yomi internally screaming in frustration, as he has no idea what's on her mind. He laments that after a month of dating, all he sees is her neutral, default expression. He always thought he liked how calm she was, but now it feels like a barrier. Yomi fantasizes about all the different expressions he wishes she would show him. To psych himself up, Yomi slaps his cheeks, catching Mizuki's attention. He resolves that he won't get depressed and will find a way to open Hanai's heart. Another student leaves them alone to handle the cleanup. Yomi offers to carry a heavy stack of books for Mizuki, which she accepts with a thank you. He decides his first move is to figure out what topics she enjoys. He tries to start a conversation by commenting on the nice weather. Yomi immediately panics, thinking he bit his tongue and wondering if she laughed at his awkwardness. Mizuki's impassive expression gives Yomi no clues. Not giving up, he asks her if she likes cats. He invites her over to his house to pet his cat. She replies that cats are okay, much to Yomi's relief. However, he immediately starts overthinking, unable to tell from her face what okay really means. Suddenly, Mizuki asks him what kind of cat he has. Caught off guard by her interest, he quickly pulls out his phone. Yomi's heart races, shocked that she initiated conversation. He nervously prepares to show her a picture. He proudly tells her about his cat's interesting pattern and its name, Kausan. He gets a close look at her and notices her long eyelashes. He is completely captivated by her presence. He also realizes that she smells very nice. As he leans in, lost in thought, Mizuki takes a step back. She suddenly slides away from him. Yomi is left completely shocked by her sudden avoidance. He begins to panic, wondering if he smelled bad or if she caught him staring. He starts to wonder if perhaps she doesn't like him at all. He concludes that this must be why she is always expressionless. He feels he can understand his friends, but she remains a complete mystery. He desperately wishes he could read her mind to know how she truly feels. As he stands there brooding, the books he placed on the shelf earlier start to fall. He gasps as he's knocked to the ground, hearing his name being called. Yomi sits on the floor in pain, as Mizuki tells him not to move so suddenly. She explains that the books fell on his head and asks if he is all right. He quickly gets up, apologizing and assuring her that he is not hurt. But as he looks at her, he notices something strange on her face. A kanji character meaning panic is clearly visible on her face. He asks what's on her face, but she doesn't understand. His confused attempts to explain only add to her bewilderment. He reaches out to touch the mark on her cheek. He tries to rub it off, but it won't disappear, leaving him to wonder what's happening. To his shock, the character on her face changes to embarrassed. Mizuki appears visibly flustered, her face blushing as she closes her eyes. Yomi is left completely speechless by this unbelievable event. Startled, Yomi pulls his hand back and apologizes profusely. Mizuki, now looking concerned, points out that he's been acting strange. As she expresses her concern, the kanji on her cheek now reads worried. Yomi notices that the character has changed once more. It dawns on Yomi that what he's seeing might be Hanai's thoughts expressed as kanji on her face. He recalls the first character he saw was panic. Then it changed to embarrassed and now worried. He realizes it all makes sense. He considers that he might be hallucinating from hitting his head, but dismisses the thought. He realizes that if his theory is right, it means he can read her mind. Feeling a mix of fear and determination, he grabs her shoulders and calls her name. He declares that he wants to know her true feelings and asks what she thinks of him. Mizuki stares back, surprised by his sudden and direct question. As he waits, the character on her face begins to change. His mind pleads for her to say she likes him. He is jolted back to the present, anxiously awaiting her response. To his horror, the new kanji on her face is the one for smelly. Yomi is utterly devastated by what he sees. Mizuki quickly apologizes and runs out of the room. Yomi collapses in despair, believing his worst fears have been confirmed. Meanwhile, Mizuki catches her breath in the hallway, clearly flustered. She anxiously wonders if she smells like sweat. Relieved, she thinks to herself that it was a close call. The concept of synesthesia is introduced, a phenomenon where senses are cross-wired, allowing some to taste sounds or see colors in letters. As this explanation plays out, Hashiba Yomi eats his meal, musing that such an ability sounds just like a superpower. The next day at school, Yomi stands resolutely by his desk, determined to finally get a clear answer from Hanae Mizuki, who sits quietly reading beside him. During class, the lecture on synesthesia resonates with Yomi. He glances over at Mizuki, wondering if this strange condition could be the key to understanding what's happening. Yomi reflects on his newfound ability to see characters on Mizuki's face, a power he gained after hitting his head. Even as she looks sleepy, a kanji for impatience appears, revealing her inner failings. He sees this as his chance to finally break through her stoic exterior. As the lunch bell rings, he nervously gathers his courage and asks her to eat with him. Sitting across from Mizuki, Yomi steels his resolve, determined to find out today whether she likes him or not. Bolstered by a refreshing morning shower, he feels confident, though he recalls the previous day's attempt didn't go well. He still struggles with how to approach the topic without being awkward. As they eat, Yomi is suddenly jolted when he sees the kanji for like appear on Mizuki's cheek. His hope quickly deflates when he realizes she's just looking fondly at the rolled omelette in her bento. He breathes a sigh of relief, thankful that at least it wasn't the word hate. Just as he relaxes, the kanji on Mizuki's face shifts to hate, leaving Yomi horrified. He doesn't realize she's actually looking at a pickled plum she dislikes. The shock is too much for him, and he dramatically faints at the table. Mizuki, concerned, asks a pale Yomi what's wrong, and he stammers that he's fine. She offers him a drink. After chugging some water, he catches his breath, thinking he nearly died from the shock. He tells himself to keep his cool, as he hasn't even properly asked her anything yet. Deciding to start with small talk, Yomi asks Mizuki if she likes rolled omelettes, to which she agrees. Feeling a surge of confidence, he smoothly tries to pivot the conversation, asking what she thinks about him. He calls out her name, ready to ask the big question. The words tumble out before he can stop them. "Do you like me?" Mizuki looks up, confused by the sudden question. Yomi immediately descends into a state of pure panic, realizing he's made a huge mistake. Yomi internally berates himself for his beginner's mistake. He fears seeing the hate kanji again. He braces for the worst possible answer, feeling his heart isn't ready for a rejection. Mizuki simply states that his question was quite sudden. As the kanji for quandary appears on her blushing cheek, Mizuki quietly asks if she really has to say it. Seeing her flustered reaction, Yomi panics and quickly retracts his question, waving his hands dismissively and telling her to forget it. Yomi sighs with relief, thankful that at least she doesn't seem to hate him. Though he couldn't get a direct answer, he feels happy that he was able to get to know her a little better during their lunch. They continue eating in a comfortable silence. A gentle breeze rustles the curtains. As they continue to eat, unseen by Yomi, the kanji for like is clearly visible on Mizuki's cheek. Inside a general store, Hanae Mizuki's attention is captured by a small merry-go-round music box on a shelf. Mizuki excitedly tries to show the merry-go-round to Hashiba Yomi. However, he remains preoccupied with his phone. Seeing his lack of response, she falls silent, standing apart from him. A hint of disappointment is in her expression as she thinks to herself. Mizuki watches him with a sad expression. Yomi, oblivious, finally finds the definition for inchin, meaning lively, on his phone. He celebrates his discovery, thinking Mizuki's earlier feeling about the festival was cute. He's completely unaware that her mood has already shifted. Their quiet moment is broken by a loud argument between another couple nearby, startling Yomi. He overhears the woman angrily confronting her partner for ignoring her in favor of his phone during their date. The accusation strikes a little too close to home as Mizuki shudders. The scene forces Yomi into a cold sweat as he realizes he has been doing the exact same thing to Mizuki. The woman declares they should break up and storms out of the shop with her partner chasing after her. Yomi turns around with a look of dread as he calls out to Hanai. Mizuki turns to face him, her expression unreadable, but the kanji for lonely is starkly visible on her cheek. The sight hits Yomi with the force of a lightning strike, and he panics, wondering how to fix his mistake. Hashiba Yomi recalls getting his first girlfriend in his second year of high school. He remembers an incident where he passed out from the stress of simply trying to talk to her. The memory fades as Mizuki arrives for their date, apologizing for the wait. Yomi explains that ever since he fainted, he has had the strange ability to see kanji characters on Mizuki's face, representing her true emotions. Yomi is struck by how beautiful Mizuki looks, thinking her date clothes are powerful. He realizes he's not the only one feeling anxious. Seeing the nervous kanji on her face confirms she feels the same. This shared feeling gives him a boost of confidence for their first date in a month. He becomes determined to use his ability to make it the best date ever. The date goes well as they enjoy some crepes. They browse a shop filled with teddy bears. When Yomi sees the kanji for cute on Mizuki's face, he gets flustered himself. He feels confident that the date is going well so far. He reflects on how much easier it is to understand her with his ability. Feeling confident, Yomi asks her where she'd like to go next. As they walk, a new, incredibly complex kanji appears on Mizuki's face, startling Yomi. He panics because he can't read it at all. He glances around and notices a horse fest nearby, guessing her emotion must be related to the event. Yomi frantically tries to decipher the kanji by breaking down its components. He has an epiphany, guessing it means a merry-go-round. Mizuki overhears him and asks if that's what he wants to ride. Flustered by his incorrect guess, Yomi quickly denies it. He pulls out his phone to look for the closest one to cover his mistake. Yomi looks up the kanji on his phone, finding it means a movement of many horses. Mizuki watches him, thinking he must really want to ride a merry-go-round. She regrets not simply agreeing to go with him. Just then, another girl approaches, calling out to Mizuki. The girl asks if she wants to go to the horse festival. Mizuki looks towards the festival with an amazed expression, and a new kanji appears on her face. Yomi is thrown into another panic. He realizes he can't read this one either, and fumbles for his phone to look it up. Yomi desperately tries to search for the kanji on his phone, but is overwhelmed. He realizes his own kanji knowledge is too limited to even know where to begin. It dawns on him that his ability is useless if he can't understand the feelings he's seeing. Mizuki notices his distress and worriedly asks if he's okay, suggesting they can skip the festival. Yomi tries to reassure Mizuki, telling her it's alright as they walk on. Inside a shop, he continues to struggle with his phone, deciding to search by stroke count. He argues with himself over whether the character has 9 or 10 strokes. He scrolls endlessly through lists of characters in a desperate attempt to find the right one. All the while, Mizuki watches him with a concerned gaze. Hashiba Yomi recalls getting his first girlfriend in his second year of high school, but he struggled to understand her until an accident gave him the ability to see her feelings as kanji. He initially believed this newfound ability would ensure a perfect, lovey-dovey relationship with her. Lying in bed, Yomi sighs as he remembers that hopeful thought. But the reality of his situation is far from what he imagined. Overwhelmed with gloom, he curls up on his bed in despair. Yomi walks to school, staggering under a heavy cloud of gloom. He sighs, filled with regret over how he acted on their first date. He recalls apologizing over and over, even though Hanai told him it was okay. Despite her reassurance, he can't shake the feeling that he has disappointed her. Just then he sees Hanai standing by the school entrance and he freezes. Yomi nervously turns and wishes Hanai a good morning. She looks at him and quietly returns the greeting. He watches her walk away into the school building. He thinks about how he used to be curious about her feelings, but now he's simply afraid of what he might see. In the calligraphy club, Yomi knows he can't avoid Hanai indefinitely. He sits anxiously, trying to figure out how to apologize to her. Suddenly, a girl with glasses smacks him on the back, telling him to stop sitting there. She uses Hanai as an example of good form, making Yomi look over in surprise. He sees Hanai completely focused as she masterfully practices her calligraphy. Watching her, Yomi is completely captivated and murmurs that she's amazing and cool. Yomi is jolted by his own comment, and Hanai looks up in surprise. A fellow club member apologizes, suggesting it's not appropriate to call a girl cool, but Hanai says it's okay. The kanji for happy appears on Hanai's face, as she reveals it's the first time someone has said that to her. A girl checks on a crying Yomi, who reassures her that he's fine. Yomi is moved to tears, calling Hanai a goddess for being happy with his compliment. He clenches his fist, resolving to apologize sincerely and make things right. He tries to approach Hanai but gets shoved aside. Suddenly, a girl screams, pointing out a huge bug that has entered the room. The club members panic, pleading with their president, Yomi, to deal with it. Amidst the chaos, Yomi turns and is surprised by what he sees. Yomi is shocked to see Hanai remaining completely calm, the kanji for nothing displayed on her cheek. He wonders how she can feel no emotion in this situation, not even from an insect. The other girls scream in terror as the bug buzzes toward them. Hanai suddenly leaps forward to intervene. Hanai jumps in front of the other girls, protecting them from the bug. Yomi watches the scene unfold, stunned into silence by her actions. Yomi traps the bug in a cloth while Hanai shields her friends. With a look of determination, Yomi grabs a cloth bag to deal with the insect. He trembles in fear while holding the trapped bug, as another girl cheers him on. After Yomi disposes of the bug, the girls praise Hanai for her bravery. One girl remarks that, as expected, nothing moves Hanai at all. Hanai grabs Yomi's hand, pulling him away from the group. She tells him to come with her, leaving their classmates behind. She leads him down an empty school hallway. When they're finally alone, she tells him that he can be honest with her. Yomi sees the kanji for afraid appear on Hanai's face. She admits that she's not good with bugs and was so scared she froze at first. She explains that even though she was afraid, she felt she had to do something. Yomi thinks about how everyone praised Hanai for being brave and calm. He begins to wonder what other secrets she might be hiding from everyone. Filled with admiration, Yomi tells Hanai that he thought she was so cool. Hanai insists that Yomi is the one who moves quickly, not her. He counters by reminding her of their date when he left her alone. The memory fills Yomi with self-loathing. Hanai tells him it's fine now, and the kanji for comforting appears on her face. Yomi is taken aback by her attempt to comfort him. He tells her she doesn't need to do that and asks for her real thoughts. He insists he can take any criticism she has, even if she thinks he's unreliable or worse. Hanai listens, telling him he can say anything to her. Yomi emphatically agrees that he's aware of her stoic expression. Hanai asks Yomi if he's noticed that her emotions don't really show on her face. She explains that it's been an issue since she was little, and she never knew how to handle it. She admits this is why she was worried during their date, wondering if he was having fun. She admits she was a little worried, and the kanji for nervous appears on her face. Yomi realizes that he had thought just being able to read her feelings would be enough. But now he understands that his ability alone is not sufficient. He explains that he was just so happy to be on a date with her. Yomi apologizes, admitting he was too nervous to relax, which made her uneasy. He realizes he also needs to let Hanai get to know him and eagerly asks her to go out with him again. He shyly suggests a place that he wants to go with her. With a beautiful smile, Hanai says she would love to go to an ice cream shop with him. Yomi wonders about the meaning of the kanji on her face, but decides it doesn't matter. He is completely mesmerized, because for the first time he is seeing Hanai's genuine smile. The school bell rings, signaling the end of another day. Tsuruha chats animatedly with her friend Mizuki as they walk down the school corridor. She launches into a story about a silly boy from her class while Mizuki listens quietly. Tsuruha taps a distracted Mizuki on the shoulder to get her attention. Mizuki explains she needs to visit the library, leaving Tsuruha comically upset that they can't walk home together. After an intense stare, Tsuruha relents. She makes Mizuki promise to make it up to her, pointing her in the direction of the library. In the library, Hashiba Yomi is focused on his studies, trying to decipher a complex kanji character. Suddenly, Mizuki Hanai appears and leans over his shoulder, surprising him. Startled, Yomi asks Hanai what she's doing there, and she quietly explains her purpose. He claims he's just studying because he's not very good with kanji, keeping his real reason a secret. Hanai calls him a studious person, causing the kanji for respect to appear on her face and Yomi to feel a pang of guilt. Yomi feels hopeless, thinking the kanji looks like an impossible cipher. Noticing his difficulty, Hanai offers to help him with his studies. She reveals that she has passed the level 1 Kanken test. Thrilled by her offer, Yomi excitedly grabs her hands. With determination, Yomi declares that with her teaching him, he can do his best. He suddenly realizes he's been holding her hands and lets go in a fluster, stammering an apology. Hanai steers the conversation back to his studies, asking about his methods. He proudly explains his method is to simply write things down until he remembers them. Seeing the kanji for childish on her face, Yomi becomes embarrassed and apologizes for his simple-minded approach, but she tells him it's not true. Hanai suggests that while his way works, it would be better if he also learned the meaning of the characters. Hanai points to the character for nostalgia in his notes. She explains it can also mean something you long for or something that stays in your heart forever. Yomi recalls Hanai's reaction to his date proposal and realizes her feeling was one of yearning. Amazed by the new meanings he's learning, Yomi remarks on how deep kanji is. In his excitement, he leans closer to Hanai, then jolts back in surprise at their proximity. He internally panics, wondering how he failed to notice they were so close. He's especially flustered that she's touching his shoulder and doesn't seem to mind. Yomi notes how enthusiastic Hanai is about teaching him, as she explains other ways to express nostalgia. However, he finds himself unable to concentrate because they are touching. He is completely charmed by her. Yomi is surprised by her warmth and finds himself drawn to her. With the kanji for enthusiasm still on her face, Hanai quietly says she wants to get to know him. Hearing her words, Yomi thinks to himself that he feels the same way. Thinking she was talking to him, Yomi earnestly says he wants to get closer too. He immediately realizes his mistake when she looks at him with a blank expression. Yomi panics, berating himself for his idiotic and impulsive comment. As Hanai turns her head, the kanji for drawn appears on her cheek. Yomi is struck with shock by this unexpected development. He feels utterly withdrawn and defeated after his mistake. Hanai confirms he's right, though Yomi is initially confused. She clarifies by showing him the dictionary definition for the kanji to be agreeable and approachable. Yomi quickly plays it off as a nice save, pretending he was talking about the kanji's meaning. He is disappointed, realizing he misunderstood and she wasn't talking about him after all. Hanai is flustered, her heart thumping as she desperately tries to calm her nerves. Both she and Yomi try to bury their faces in their books, needing to concentrate on studying. In the middle of class, Hashiba Yomi lets out a loud sneeze. The teacher asks if he is all right, and Yomi quickly apologizes for the interruption. The teacher advises the class to be careful, as a seasonal cold is going around. Yomi glances over at Hanai, thinking to himself that he is in trouble. Yomi finds it very difficult to read Hanai's feelings since she is wearing a mask. He resolves to make do with what little he can see. He notices the kanji for diligent on her mask and admires her studious nature. As the teacher lectures, several students in the class are coughing. Yomi glances over and sees Hanai coughing as well. She rustles through her belongings, still coughing. Seeing this, Yomi grows concerned for her. A new kanji appears on Hanai's mask. Yomi focuses intently, trying to figure out what character it is. As other students cough around them, Yomi and another classmate try to guess the word, suggesting stand or started. Yomi has a sudden realization the character means lozenges and Hanai must want a cough drop. He confirms to himself that it must be cough drops she needs. He wonders if she forgot to bring her own. The teacher asks for a volunteer, and Yomi realizes this is his chance to help, despite being in the middle of class. Yomi comes up with what he believes is a perfect plan to get the cough drop to her. He theatrically raises his hand to volunteer, much to the surprise of another student. The teacher calls on Hashiba, who mentally prepares himself to be casual and polite as he heads to the front. As he walks to the front, he casually drops the cough drop on her desk. He gives her a confident thumbs up, telling her to use it. Hanai looks up, surprised by his gesture. Back in his seat, Yomi feels pleased with himself, thinking his kanji studies were worth it. He glances at Hanai, thinking it does not matter if her face is hidden. Hanai looks down at the cough drop on her desk. She holds her mask, getting ready to take the lozenge. When she lowers her mask, the kanji for cure appears on her cheek. The teacher calls out to Yomi, who is still lost in thought about the word cure. Yomi snaps out of his daze with a smug expression. When pressed by the teacher, he theatrically admits he has no idea how to solve the problem. The school bell rings, ending the class. Yomi descends into panic, believing he made a mistake with the kanji and that Hanai must be disgusted with him. He collapses onto his desk in anguish, too embarrassed to face her. Hanai watches him from her desk. She looks down at the cough drop he gave her. She unwraps the candy he gave her. Hanai puts the cough drop in her mouth. She finds it very sweet, and the kanji for strawberry appears on her blushing cheek. While walking home from school, Yomi asks to accompany Hanai on her trip to the bookstore, and she agrees. As they walk together, an awkward silence hangs between them. Yomi glances nervously at Hanai, his heart pounding. He squeezes his eyes shut, gathering his courage. With trembling hands, he resolves that today is the day he will finally do it. Yomi's internal monologue reveals his grand plan. He is determined to hold hands with Hanai. He recalls seeing a couple holding hands, which sparked his desire to do the same with Hanai. Feeling anxious due to his inexperience, he admits to himself that he's never done something like this before. To prepare, he researched casual touch between couples in a guidebook he ordered online. Following the book's first step, he slides closer to her as they walk. Slowly, he moves his hand toward hers, preparing to make casual contact. Just as he's about to make his move, Hanai turns around to face him. Startled, Hashiba frantically gives her a double thumbs up, insisting that nothing is wrong. Hanai explains that she was looking because something was wrong with his tie. As she mentions it, the kanji for tie appears on her cheek. Hashiba, not understanding, looks down at his tie in confusion. To recover from the awkward moment, Hashiba pretends his shoelaces have come untied and kneels to fix them. He quickly ties his shoe, buying himself a moment to regroup. He stands up, apologizes for the wait, and tells himself to get it together and try again. He resolves that next time, he'll grab her hand with manly confidence. Hashiba makes his second attempt to grab Hanai's hand, but he clumsily misses as she comes to a stop. He glances back, embarrassed and observed by giggling onlookers. As Hanai looks at him, the kanji for grasp appears on her cheek, indicating she's aware of his intentions. They've stopped in front of a conveyor belt sushi restaurant. Trying to salvage the situation, Hashiba awkwardly asks Hanai if she likes sushi. The kanji for embarrassed appears on her flustered face as she stammers a denial. Hashiba tries to be reassuring, telling her there's no need to be embarrassed. However, his inner self scolds him, thinking this isn't the right time to be smiling. Frustrated that his timing is off and a quiet approach isn't working, Hashiba decides he must be more direct. He suddenly throws his hands up and loudly calls out Hanai's name, startling her. Completely bewildered, she looks back at him as the kanji for phone appears on her face. Hashiba misinterprets the kanji, thinking she means a mobile phone. He gasps in shock at his own misunderstanding. In a panic, he vehemently declares that he decided not to look at his phone while he's with her, leaving Hanai confused. Later at the bookstore, he and Hanai agree to meet up after browsing separately. Alone in an aisle, Hashiba consults his guidebook again, lamenting that things aren't going as expected. He laments how difficult holding hands is and wonders if it's too soon for him. Despite his frustration, he refuses to give up and tries to figure out his next move. Nearby, Tsuruha Nanaka struggles to reach a book on a high shelf. Hashiba notices her struggle and grabs the book for her. He politely hands the book over to her. Tsuruha thanks him, and Hashiba realizes she's a junior from his school. Her attention is immediately drawn to the guidebook Hashiba is holding, and she stares at it intently. The awkward stare continues, making Hashiba increasingly uncomfortable before he turns away with a nervous laugh. Hashiba tries to play it cool, but Tsuruha isn't finished. She bluntly suggests that he should study something else instead of reading such a book, before walking off. Hashiba is left thunderstruck, mortified at being criticized by a girl he just met, but unable to argue because she's right. Hashiba reflects on how his ability to see kanji is what brought him closer to Hanai. He realizes that instead of working on that ability, he's been trying to rely on a lover skinship guide. With newfound determination, he decides he knows what he truly needs to do. He finds a section in the bookstore dedicated entirely to dictionaries. His eyes land on one specific dictionary, which seems to glow with promise. Meanwhile, Hanai browses the romance section, looking uncertain. She reaches for a book but pulls back, deciding to leave it for another time. Seeing her hesitation, Hashiba misinterprets the situation and yells that she doesn't have to hold back with him. Startled by Hashiba's outburst, Hanai's heart pounds as the kanji for challenge appears on her cheek. She looks down at the book in her hands, titled A Challenge to All Romance Beginners, ready to face her own romantic struggles. In the quiet aisles of the bookstore, Hashiba Yomi looks up the word thesaurus, holding the book that he hopes will be the key to understanding Hanai. Flipping through the pages, Hashiba is astonished to find a dictionary filled with nothing but synonyms. A wave of realization washes over him. This could be the very tool he needs to better understand Hanai's feelings. Just as Hashiba has his epiphany, he is startled. He looks up from the book to see Hanai Mizuki, who apologizes for keeping him waiting. Noticing his intensity, Hanai questions him. Bolstered by his newfound tool, Hashiba looks at her directly and with a blush, earnestly declares that he wants to get closer to her. Hanai is visibly shocked by his sudden and heartfelt declaration. Hashiba, blushing intensely, extends his hand and clarifies his wish to hold her hand as they walk home. He internally berates himself for getting too caught up in the moment. He recalls the thesaurus, picturing the different ways to express holding hands. He imagines the kanji for tie hands on her face. Then he pictures the one for hold hands. Finally, he visualizes the kanji for grab hands. Hashiba reflects that he is trying to close the distance in his own way. He acknowledges that Hanai is trying her best too. He wonders if his approach is the right one. Pushing aside his doubts, he gently reaches out and takes her hand. As their hands touch, the kanji for connect appears on Hanai's cheek. Seeing this, Hashiba understands her feelings mirror his own, and he shyly agrees. With both of them blushing, Hashiba feels a sense of hope. He wonders if this simple connection will finally let their feelings truly reach one another. Walking side by side and hand in hand, Hashiba and Hanai move forward together, content to let their relationship develop at its own pace. Sometime later, Hanai asks Hashiba if he is free on Sunday. She explains that her childhood friend wants to meet him, cautioning that she can be a little shy. On the appointed day, Hashiba rushes to the bus stop, relieved to be on time. Spotting Hanai in the distance, Hashiba worries about making a good impression on her childhood friend. He calls out cheerfully as he approaches. He stops short when he sees who is standing beside her. Hashiba is shocked to recognize her as the girl from the bookstore. Hanai introduces her childhood friend, Tsuruha Nanaka, who glares at Hashiba. Tsuruha tells him there is something she needs to say. Without any preamble, Tsuruha grabs Hanai's arm and bluntly demands that Hashiba break up with her. Hanai is taken aback by her friend's words. The shocking statement leaves Hashiba completely stunned. The bonus chapter focuses on Hanai's Tamagoyaki. Across from her, Hashiba looks at her with a hopeful expression, his hands clasped together. Hanai observes him, lost in thought about his recent odd behavior. She feels him watching her and remembers his sudden question about what she thinks of him. Hanai remembers her panic, feeling it was the first time they were so close and she was unable to confess. Hashiba offers to take her umeboshi, thinking that is the source of her worry. Startled, Hashiba exclaims that she seemed worried while looking at her food, to which Hanai asks why he thinks she dislikes them. Hashiba thanks her for the food. She offers him the food, silently acknowledging that his question stems from her own lack of communication. Hanai feels that the more she tries to express herself, the more the words get stuck. Overwhelmed, she looks at her lunch and thinks that she does not know what to do. The kanji for regret materializes on her cheek as she thinks she cannot help it. He smiles and offers Hanai his Tamagoyaki. Hanai looks up, surprised by his offer. He happily tells her he assumed she liked them. She acknowledges that she is not good at expressing herself, but decides to try. Hanai takes a piece of the offered Tamagoyaki. The word love appears as she thinks about her feelings and her resolve to confess properly someday. While Hanai enjoys the food, a flustered Hashiba promises to keep giving her his Tamagoyaki from now on. The Calligraphy Club's monthly free writing event is underway, with the theme being favorite food. Hashiba Yomi contemplates his work, sensing that something is off about his calligraphy. His classmate Hanai Mizuki presents her beautifully written piece, Tamagoyaki. Hashiba excitedly points out her choice of food, startling her. He quickly apologizes for interrupting, but Hanai tells him it is all right since she has already finished. Hashiba compliments her, saying her handwriting is so beautiful it could be in a fancy restaurant, causing Hanai to blush. He then smiles sheepishly, thinking about his own less-than-perfect calligraphy. Hashiba reveals his favorite food is the three-color bento his mom sometimes makes. He expresses his dissatisfaction, feeling that his writing doesn't feel right. He worries that his calligraphy looks too normal and safe. Hashiba notices that Hanai seems to want to say something. He turns to her and asks for her thoughts, catching her off guard. Hashiba eagerly encourages her to share any advice she might have. After a moment, Hanai points to a specific character on his paper. She suggests that if you look at the character, it looks like a cat. Hashiba is stunned and confused by her unusual feedback. A flustered Hashiba insists that the character is 3, while Hanai looks on, confused by his reaction. He immediately scolds himself for being rude and resolves to listen to her advice. Hanai calmly continues her explanation, pointing to a specific line in his work. His imagination runs wild, and he becomes completely flustered by the image of her as a catgirl. A classmate snaps Hashiba out of it, calling him an idiot. Hashiba apologizes, explaining he just got carried away, while Hanai looks on with surprise. Hanai then demonstrates the proper technique, and Hashiba is amazed by how different the vibe is. When other members ask about the difference, Hashiba explains the importance of using the 3 basic horizontal strokes. The club president appears, finding the situation amusing. The other members are shocked that Hashiba is unaware of the 3 different types of horizontal strokes. She begins to explain the basics, detailing the 3 main types, Gyosei, Heisei, and Fukusei. She illustrates the 3 strokes, Gyosei for upward curves, Heisei for even lines, and Fukusei for downward curves. The president explains how these strokes are typically used at the top, middle, and bottom of kanji characters. She encourages them by stating that mastering these 3 lines is the key to writing beautiful kanji. Hashiba has an epiphany, realizing his characters looked bland because he only used the Heisei stroke. Inspired, Hashiba thanks them both and decides to redo his work. Hanai confesses that she was nervous, as it was her first time giving advice. Hashiba looks at Hanai's calligraphy with renewed admiration, exclaiming that it's truly beautiful. Pleased that she was helpful, Hanai feels a sense of joy. Inspired by her advice to Hashiba, other students approach Hanai for help with their own calligraphy. Hashiba looks on with concern, wondering if she can handle the sudden attention. Despite her uncertainty, Hanai agrees to help them and they cheer in excitement. Hashiba watches with a proud smile, thinking about how hard Hanai is working. The president mischievously tells another girl that Hashiba is smiling at her, causing him to panic. He claims he's just happy to see the club members interacting, but the president seems unconvinced. The other students suggest he was actually watching Hanai, who is busy helping them. The president finds the escalating situation amusing. Hashiba feels the pressure and is determined to keep his cool to prevent any misunderstandings. When he looks over, he sees a character has appeared on Hanai's face that looks exactly like a mustache. The unexpected sight causes Hashiba to burst out laughing. The president asks what's wrong with his face, while he begs to be left alone. He's completely thrown off, as the characters usually appear on her cheek, not above her lip. Hanai, unaware, tries to tell herself to calm down, sensing the shift in mood. Hashiba struggles to suppress his laughter, insisting to himself that there is nothing funny about it. Hanai continues to patiently instruct the other club members. However, the strain of helping so many people at once starts to show. She looks exhausted, wiping her brow as she feels the pressure. She finishes her work, looking drained but resolute, with the character from Meat appearing on her forehead. The sheer force of her focused expression hits Hashiba like a shockwave. Hashiba clutches his stomach, overwhelmed, as the president tells him to focus on his own calligraphy. Hanai turns to him with concern, asking if he is all right. Too flustered to face her, Hashiba insists he's okay, though he is unable to look at her for a while. Hashiba